Morning, everybody. It is March 31st, end of a quarter happening. Last day of the month. There could be some shenanigans into the close today, end of month, end of quarter. So markets sold off on Friday. I celebrated my wife's birthday on Friday, so I didn't do a video on Friday. And of course, that day the market fell apart. I believe after the Michigan consumer sentiment numbers came out, core PCE I think was a little hot, and then we opened up and gapped down on Sunday night, and that's what we've been doing. So, made new lows for the year in the ES and the Nasdaq futures. So that's where we're at right now. And so, with that being said, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use market profile and volume profile to find structure in the markets along supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That's my edge. It's how I look at the markets and share that TA with you. Also use market internals, which shows me what's happening under the hood. All right. So every morning I do this. Hopefully you can join me because I give you the market news, the story of the markets, the leaders and the laggards, economic calendar, and then I give you long and short trade scenarios with the ES and the Nasdaq future analysis that comes later on. Okay, go over daily charts as well. So we'll get into some key levels today. And of course, you can smash that like button whenever you want. Wait to the end, do it now. It's just, I appreciate it no matter when you do it. All right. Why don't we get right into the futures watch list now? See what's moving markets here. All right. Okay. VIX is up to 24. 24 VIX. Fear's back. All right. You should get volatile movements today. Gold's up 1.35. It's just been a monster. It breaks my heart because I had a very very far stop loss because I had gold in my portfolio and my stop loss got hit. I think it was something like a $20 stop loss in GLD or 20 something like that. I thought it was safe, got hit, and now I've just been watching gold take a run. Kind of hurts a little bit. But 30-year bonds are being bought. That means yield should go lower. Silver's up 0.23. Crude is up 0.17. Dollar is basically flat. The Dow is down 0.62. ES down 0.98. Well, 0.98. 10-year yield is down 1.29%. We can go over that. Maybe I was talking about seeing if it could break out of a range, but it looks like that just made a swing high. Russell's down 1.30. Nasdaq's down 1.36. That's the laggard. Bitcoin's down 1.93. Ethereum down 2.66. Let's look at the Mag 7 Plus here. And let's see everyone's lagging, but who's the least lagging is Apple. Apple actually just got hit with an antitrust lawsuit, I believe, from France. It's not mattering much, down 0.56. We'll just go to 2% lagging. Well, we'll start at Amazon. Basically down 1.99. That is down 2.12. Broadcom's down 2.88. Broadcom's been very weak lately. AMD's down 2.91, back to $100. Coinbase proxy for Bitcoin basically down 3.32, down to 167. Nvidia down almost 4%. Whoa, the heck was that? Nvidia down almost 4%, down to like 105.30. Tesla continues to get slammed. Had a little run up, now down almost 6%. They're down to like 248. So they were at 263 on Friday. Okay. Let's move on to the sectors. Let's see who's leading the pack today. Is Staples. Staples is up 0.21. That's definitely defensive. Okay. Followed by utilities is flat and real estate is flat. Now the laggards will go with the 1%ers. Financials down 1%. Technology down 1.64%. Discretionary, that's your Amazon, your Tesla, your Home Depot, down 1.68%. And semiconductors is the biggest loser of the day, down 2.41%. Okay, so that wraps up our sectors, our futures, and our Mag 7 Plus. All right, now let's go over to the economic calendar, some market news. Let's look at it together. All right, so today we have Chicago PMI at 9:45 and Dallas Fed at 10:30. Just 9:45. Be on the lookout for Chicago PMI. This tomorrow we have ISM manufacturing PMI, JOLTS jobs. All right. Wednesday, what do we have? 30-year mortgage, ADP employment. Oh, we have non-farm payrolls this week, huh? ADP employment change, ADP employment change on Wednesday. Thursday, we have exports, imports, initial jobs claims, ISM services, Fed speak. Friday is the big day, non-farm payrolls and unemployment. And Fed Chair Powell speaking that day. Wow. So Friday's an action-packed day. We can go right now into the news. Trump's auto tariffs threaten new supply price shock. Tesla deliveries likely fell as competition. Musk backlash surge. Tesla investors are bracing for a drop in first quarter vehicle deliveries as a backlash against CEO Elon Musk's politics exacerbates weakening demand for the electric vehicle makers' aging lineup. Trump says TikTok sale deal to come before a Saturday deadline. Apple hit with 162 million French antitrust fine over a privacy tool. And then biotech stocks are getting slammed this morning. Tumble on reports FDA's top vaccine regulator to leave. Shares of U.S. biotech companies fell as much as 10% pre-market following reports that a top vaccine official at the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has resigned, fanning worries over slower reviews for breakthrough treatments. All right. Let's see here. Separately, oil prices surged as Trump threatened to impose secondary tariffs on buyers of Russian oil and warned Iran of possible military action if it did not agree to a deal over its nuclear program. All right. Just looking for other newsworthy stuff. It says Stellantis envyings Tesla. The European car maker will buy credits from a pool led by Tesla also in 2025 to meet European Union's CO2 reduction requirements. All right. And then Tesla. Fire broke out overnight at Tesla dealership in Rome, destroying 17 cars. Firefighters said they did not say what started the blaze, so this is becoming kind of ridiculous. People destroying Teslas. Um, then we have for China and U.S. Inc. Trump trade war feels much worse this time. Chinese suppliers and their American clients are now coming to grips with the grim reality that this trade war will hit harder than in Trump's first term in 2018. This time is different because low-end manufacturers are already struggling with razor-thin margins, so they cannot cut prices to help their U.S. customers. And local Chinese governments that might have provided support to protect jobs are mostly too cash-strapped to give new subsidies. All right, that's that. Let's look at any other news we can look at here. There might not be. All right, let's see here. All right, Tesla stock fell 4.4 ahead of unveiling of the EV manufacturer first quarter deliveries data this week. All right. Apple stock fell 0.8 after the iPhone maker was hit. We talked about that lawsuit. Ford, General Motors, Stellantis shed 3.5% with tariffs on automobiles built outside the U.S. Palantir stock slumped 6.4% amid concerns the American software company will suffer on the back of government spending cuts. CoreWeave stock fell 3.3 after the AI infrastructure firm struggled on Friday in the wake of its IPO. Nvidia stock fell 3.6 with the tech giant having backed the offering. All right. Now let's look at the juice. Maybe there's anything in here we need to talk about. Let's see here. Let's see if there's any red. It says Trump won't rule out a third term, says there are ways to do it. NBC asked about a possible scenario in which Vice President J.D. Vance would run for office and then pass the role to Trump. Trump responded that that's one method. Okay. Says Trump, I'm angry and pissed off at Putin. All right. So, Trump market here. All right, I think we're pretty much wrapped up. Let's go to daily charts. Let me pull those up. So let's look at what happened last week. Okay, so you can see here we closed above the 200-day move average 2 days, and then wham, took those out with a big bearish engulfing candle. Took those 2 days out, which is not a good thing, right? Went back into previous week's range, then broke the lows of the previous week's lows, right there. You closed at 555, right? Now you broke this trend line and are threatening these lows, right? Now, right now we're at 550.40. We are right at these lows. Now, it might want a date with this uptrend line. So you can see this uptrend line coming from all the way from 420, 2024. You see a touch here. And then we also have the 2024 year-to-date anchor VWAP right there. And that we're talking about 546 to 543. That could be where we land today, right? If you look across too, you have this like swing low here. That was support. And that was support. We broke it, came back, support, and that's when we took off. All right, we just have to see. We just have to see here. Okay. Let's look at the futures to give a different look at what we're looking at here, so we can see the movement. There's our futures. There's that low that we're right at right now, right here. Okay. So it's a very, very important low if we break that. Okay. And it's quarter and month end. So, wow. Should be some fireworks today. Let's look at Qs. All right. Where's the Qs again, right? The Qs hit this downtrend line. Boom. Came right down to these lows. These lows are very important. So this is the anchored VWAP from 2024. We're challenging this again. However, big difference in the Qs is this low has now been taken out, right? And the anchor VWAP from last year. All right, so we're at 462.80 right now. We are actually all the way down here, right there. So the next level for the Qs could be this swing low right here. That's around 448.30, maybe 449 we'll call it. Okay, there's really no trend. I mean, the only one that we could possibly make is, let's see, from this swing low. Let's see if there's a trend here. There is a little bit of a trend line there, around 460. It kind of lines up with this swing low. Okay, so this is, it's pretty bearish. We're taking out this whole balance area right now. So we'll have to see. Let's look at the futures just to give it another look. Look at that. You're breaking those lows right here. Boom, broke the lows. Getting some buying right now. Let's see what happens with last week's lows. They are at 193.57 right there. Could we retest that and fall? Possibly. Could quite possibly. Okay. So now what we're going to look at is that triple-headed monster. And that 10-year yield. All right. Because when we look at this, I kept saying last week, is this going to become, because they made a move here, right? I was like, wow, look at this move in yields. I said, this hitting this trend line, 50-day moving average. I said, is this going to break out or is this going to become a swing high? Now look, it hit this downtrend line and now look, we're falling. So the next support is 4.13 yield. If we hit that, we go to 3.99. We got to see. Fears coming back in the market. People are buying Barnes today. So the flight to safety might be happening. I don't know if I put this up. That's your triple-headed monster. Now let's go to the dollar. The dollar, remember, has been in this little range here. Came up, came down, range. You pushed up. Now the dollar kind of, can this be a swing high? I don't know. Just have to see what the dollar does. Okay. And our fear gauge. Our fear gauge is back in mix with the VIX. Okay, with the VIX here, we went all the way up to the almost 30. But look at this spike up in volatility. That's just from today, in the night into, no, I'm sorry. This is Friday. This is now where we're at now. Gapped up in the VIX, in like a 24 VIX basically. So expect fireworks today, big ranges. That's what's going to happen. The volume is good too. So even though, like, if you look at the price action, it's kind of muted, but there's big ranges right now in the overnight. We'll look at that in a second. All right, so that's what we have going on there. Okay, that's what we have going on there. Time for the main event. Let's go into the futures, and we'll look at the ES and the NASDAQ futures. Just give me a sec while I pull that up, and we'll look at these charts together and come up with some kind of a game plan. All right, so here's this. Let's look at the market profile, the volume profile. All right. Let's get my little marker tool out. And what we could do is we'll look at Friday and what transpired on Friday. All right, so Friday opened up right there, kind of pushed into this supply, came through. Now you made, this is emotional selling. These are single prints, okay? And where did you go right to? The most traded price of the month. That level's 56.70, okay? And of course, you had a little bit of a pause here, probably when Michigan consumer sentiment numbers came out, and then bam, you broke the previous week's lows right here, and then you consolidated and into the close, went right at the lows, and you brought the most traded price lower. That's all bearish. Okay, that's very bearish. And let's close this back up. So that's what happened on Friday. And then of course we gapped down. We opened here, had a little move, pushed all the way down to the end of this demand zone. Now this support is very important. 552, 55, 52. Okay. So end of a quarter, end of a month. All right. So we're underneath that month-to-day VWAP. That's all the way up there. We are right now below last week's lows. Can this hold? I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Very balanced profile here. But real quick, let's do this. Let's look at the high volume nodes here in the ES. Okay, you could see here right on my chart. Look where we came from. Remember, I talked about this 58.21, 58.20, most traded price of the rolling year. I said this is not going to be easy to cut through. And what happened? We consolidated around this level, and then boom, we consolidated, right? Boom, we came down, ripped right through the most traded price of the month, and now we are breaking these lows. We're right there. So this was that level that I said is very important. Now if you look at this little white profile, you can see price made new lows for the year. We don't have any other price action below this for this year. So one level to look at is this level. It's a high volume node from the past. Let's just call it 50. Let's call it 5500. 5500 could be the next destination for this market. Okay. So Like I said, we go lower. We haven't even seen these prices this year. We'd have to go back to the previous year. Okay. Now let's look at the daily chart real quick, just to give you maybe another view of this. Okay. Here's the ES. This is the lows that I'm talking about, and we made new lows in the overnight. So right here, if you look to the left, there's a swing low here, right? And this is that 5,500 about that I talked about right here in this little cluster. That's the price action. That's from last year. Okay. So who knows where we go? All right. That being said, let's move back to here. Okay. We do have a gap. Our gap fill is 56.11 right there. Last week's lows. Okay. We right now, price is right here in the middle of this range. We are at a big demand zone. Okay. This demand zone has not been broken yet. Almost all used up. Okay. We are probably about 75% net short in the overnight. All right, with this, you opened here, you had this much long activity to this much short. I don't know if that's that much feather in the cap. Okay, now let's mark off some levels here. Okay, so this is your gap fill and your overnight high. That's your gap fill with last week's lows. Okay, this obviously down here is this big demand zone that's been pretty much used up. And then we have our 5,500 level down here. Okay. Now the midpoint of last Friday's move is actually the most traded price of the month, 56.70. Okay. And what the market has to do, because currently right now the most traded price of the last week is 58.12, all the way up here. So the market has to do a job because price is here. If you can move value, make value follow price. If you could take this most traded price and bring it down here somewhere, and you start making you move it down here, that can make the move lower happen. Because then you accept value lower. Okay? All right. Why don't we get into some scenarios here? Let's start with a bull. Actually, let's start with the bear. Okay? Price is here. Okay? Price is here. So we do have a little supply zone here. So one thing that could happen is try to push up, fail here, roll through, come down, break the overnight lows in that big demand zone. Like I said, below this is new lows. And like I said, we could fall to 5,500. Okay. One other thing, we can push up, fill the gap, also take a roll. Also have supply here, right with the most traded price of Friday. If this fails as well, now this, if you go all the way up here, maybe we just go here and start to balance off. Okay, it's kind of really all I'm interested in. I don't think we go all the way up here, and I'm going to want to short. Okay, so that's just I just have this marker here up as a level. All right, so that is your bear scenario. Now bull scenario. All right, this demand zone's used up, which is not a good thing. Okay, however, people, it's quarter end, month end. All right, so let's just say we push up and we come and test this overnight low, the bottom of this demand. We could get a little whoop, and then if you start making higher lows, really can see if you can go through this most traded price of the overnight and see if you can fill that gap. That's 56.11. Do you fill that gap? Then you got to deal with this, the most traded price and supply of Friday. What do you do here? And then maybe do you make it back to the most traded price of the month, 56.70? I don't know. That could be a possibility. Okay. I think that's one, right? The other scenario that could happen that maybe I don't think I'd be ecstatic about it is if you fill the gap, break that supply, and you start holding in here, then you could possibly go long. I don't think that'd be my favorite. That also could possibly happen. Okay, I wouldn't be going long down here. Doesn't really make sense to me. This market will be weak if we continue to fall. Okay, that is the ES. Let's move over to the Nasdaq. Let's see, structure might be, that's the wrong chart. Let's see here. Okay. You can see there's no volume down here because, well, there is here, I'm sorry. This is new lows. We are at new lows. Okay. And it's pretty similar, but let's look at some longer term levels in the Nasdaq. Okay. Here's the Nasdaq. So, all right, let's look at it. We're right here. Look at that. Made new lows for the year. This candle got a little buying here, right at the end of this shelf. Right. If you look across where we got support, it's this swing low here, right here in the Nasdaq. That's where you got support. Your next high volume node is right here at 188.59. This little cluster here. Okay, 188.59. All right, now if we look at it in my express chart or profile, okay, so here's this high volume node we were at in the past, right? And here's that 189 right here. And you can see we're making new lows. We broke this lows here. So 189 is on the map for me to see if we can move there. Now, if we defend this right here, we can move back up to 196.70. Okay, so that's the big levels at the Nasdaq. All right, now we mark it off. We mark those levels off. Okay, so we got our gap fill 194.14. So that's last week's, happens to be last week's lows. We got a little supply zone here as well. Okay, the price is right in the middle of the range, and you got a very balanced profile. The Nasdaq is more net short. Okay, so this is the long activity to this much short activity. That's a good 85 to 90% net short. Okay, but price is in the middle. It's very balanced. Okay, remember these are new lows. All right, so we have that. We have this supply now. Midpoint 50% retracement 196.75. That's your 50% retracement of Friday. We do have supply up here as well, right at the lows of Friday. A lot of overhead supply here. Okay, you have your overnight lows here. But remember, 189 is a high volume node. Okay, there's not much in between here, so we'll just mark off the overnight lows. Okay, so let's talk about the bear side. Let's do these Nasdaq scenarios here. Would be very similar here. Okay, let's look at this together. All right, market's priced right here. Okay, talking about a bear side. If we push up into the supply overnight high and we maybe fill the gap, we could get some lower highs and come through and test the overnight lows. If we get some real weakness and push through here, we could then go to the 189s. Okay, this could also have price go all the way up into here, fill the gap, and then also roll over. Maybe go to the overnight lows. I don't think you'd have it to go all the way here. Okay, that is your bear side. Bull side, let's talk about it. Okay, so we're right here. So one thing that could happen, you could push up, come through, hit the overnight lows, get a little bear trap here, kind of push up, Now the key level here would be 192.41 is the overnight most traded price of the overnight right there. If you happen to go like this and hold, you're probably going to try to fill that gap. That gap fills 194.10. Okay, that could be all she wrote for the bull in this case. Okay, that could be all she wrote, and then we just kind of balance off. You'd have to break this supply to go all the way even back to the midpoint. I don't know if that's in the cards today. Okay, that's that's kind of like all I would really be interested in. Be honest with you. You could also do this, come back, hold, and go up. There's not a lot that I'd be interested in if we don't hold here. Okay, that's really the scenario for today. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be high volatility, um, crazy ranges. I'm expecting that. So I'm going to sit back. It's Monday, but remember, today is quarter end and month end. So I think some shenanigans could happen towards the end of the day. People like to make their monthly statement look good, um, rebalance portfolios. It's the end of the quarter. So I expect some shenanigans, okay? Don't know when exactly, maybe the last 15 minutes, the last 10 minutes, the last 5 minutes, I don't know, but something will happen. And most likely, I think it could possibly be buying towards the end of the day. Not sure, but we'll have to see. Okay? So that's it for me today, folks. Hope you enjoyed that analysis. All right. As always, smash that like button for me. That would mean a lot. And if you could always come join me every morning, I give you the news, the market story, the economic calendar, the leaders and the laggards, and of course the long and short trade scenarios I just went over. And hopefully you get something out of it. Okay? So we got our plan. Let's follow it. Let's stay green. No trade's a trade, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.